known lots of people before he ever met her. He hadn't started working at Heartland until he was 16. She just never really thought about it before. Was Kerry Ann an old girlfriend? Had Ty deliberately avoided mentioning her? Amy quickly pushed the thought away. She told herself she was jumping to conclusions. Kerry Ann's probably just an old friend, she thought. She sat down on a bench to wait for Lou. She didn't want to doubt Ty, especially not now. Lou's car drew up and Amy climbed in. "You're out early," her sister commented. "How is he?" Amy shrugged lightly. "Pretty much the same." Lou shot her a sympathetic glance. "He will wake up, Amy," she said softly. Amy nodded. "Sure," she replied. Back at Heartland, Amy found her friend Soraya waiting for her, sitting on the yard gate. She waved and jumped down when Lou's car rolled into the stable yard. "You're early," called Amy, smiling as Soraya jogged over. "Yeah, my mum already had plans with a friend," said Soraya, "so she dropped me off on the way. How's Ty? Your grandpa said you were visiting him. Any improvements?" Amy shook her head. "No, nothing new," she said. She hesitated, wondering whether to mention Kerry Ann. Then she decided against it. She wanted to think about this a bit more. "So, what can I do?" said Soraya, as they walked towards the farmhouse. "I was going to make a start on cleaning the stables, but they look pretty clean." "Yeah, we've caught up with that," said Amy. "We only have 12 horses since the quarantine was just lifted. We managed with all the stable chores at least. It's doing the real work that's difficult, treating the horses, especially now that school started." Soraya looked sympathetic. "I guess that's where you really miss Ty," she remarked. Amy nodded. There wasn't anyone else at Heartland who could replace the work that Ty did, but there was no point in dwelling on it. "I thought we could do some work with Blackjack in his stable," she said. "You can help me with that. He basically needs lots of attention, grooming and love. He was taken for granted, so we want to rebuild his trust. But first, I need some lunch. I'm starving. Do you want a sandwich?" "Oh, I had lunch ages ago," said Soraya. "You go ahead. I'll grab a grooming kit and get started." "Great," said Amy. "He's in the back barn." "Okay," said Soraya. "See you soon." In the kitchen, Amy quickly spread mustard on some slices of bread and rummaged in the fridge for some ham, thinking about Soraya's words. She missed Ty more than anyone could guess. She had always believed that their friendship was special, even before they started dating. They spent so much time together, she didn't think they had any secrets. But the thought of Kerry Ann sitting by his bed just would not go away. Frustrated, she slammed the fridge door shut and quickly slapped her sandwich together. She ate it very quickly on her way back down to the yard, forcing herself to focus on Blackjack. "He's doing so much better," commented Soraya when Amy arrived at his stall. Soraya was grooming the horse's neck in smooth, rhythmic strokes with a body brush. "He hasn't snapped at me once. In fact, I think he's enjoying himself. Aren't you, boy?" Amy smiled and let herself into the stall. It was true. Blackjack was doing very well. His owners had sent him to Heartland because after years of good behaviour in their riding school, he had started getting more and more belligerent. His temper had become a real problem. He was a nightmare to catch, and he lashed out constantly in his stable, both with his feet and his teeth. Amy had gradually realised that sometimes happens with riding school horses. He had become bored and resentful. He was 14 now and had had many years of hard plodding around the training ring. Amy couldn't blame him for becoming grouchy, but with the attention and praise of everyone at Heartland, his behaviour was generally improving. Amy had been giving him the willow Bach flower remedy, a herbal extract that would help him feel less resentful and more receptive to the work she was doing with him. He was beginning to seem like a different force. Amy stroked the gelding's forelock out of his eyes and fished in her pocket for a handful of pony nuts. "There you go," she said.
"Here we go," she said.
As he nosed
It's tired, Sheila.
I'm yawning.
Then you can stop reading.
No, I'm doing a chapter.
Okay.
As he nosed her palm with his soft lips. Then she scratched his forehead and behind his ears. "He's just lapping it up," said Soraya, brushing along his back with smooth steps. "I might leave his hind legs to you though, if you don't mind." "Sure thing," said Amy, smiling. "He's quite gentle now." They worked in silence for a few minutes, absorbed in the rhythm of it. Then the barn door opened and Amy looked up to see Ben, a Hartfield stable boy, come and lean over the stall door. "Hey, you guys," he greeted them, flashing a grin at Soraya. "Oh, hi, Ben," Soraya said, briefly glancing up from her work. Amy looked at her friend in surprise. Soraya usually made a fuss over Ben, but today she seemed rather distracted. Amy smiled at him. "How's Red doing?" she asked. "Getting better all the time," he said. "He's about 3/4 fit, I say." Red had been one of the horses to suffer from the equine flu that had spread through the stable a few weeks earlier. Red was Ben's own horse, a talented jumper, and the stillness had taken him right off the show circuit. But Ben had been careful not to push him too hard while retraining. He cared about him too much for that. "I was wondering if there's anything you wanted me to do, Amy," he continued. "I'm hoping to fit in a session with Red this afternoon." "Go ahead," said Amy. "If you've got time when you're done, you could maybe lunge Silver, but only gently. She needs loosening up. She shouldn't need more than 15 minutes or so. Oh, I do have some news. We've got a wild Mustang arriving tomorrow." Soraya and Ben looked at her in astonishment. "What, for training?" asked Ben, open-mouthed. Amy nodded. "His new owner wants us to greet him. He's a stallion, fresh from the plains of Nevada." "Oh, that's fantastic," breathed Soraya. "How exciting." Amy grinned. After the awkward encounter with Kerry Ann, she'd forgotten how pleased she was about Dazzle. The excitement was now welling up again. "I know," she said. "It's an amazing opportunity and I cannot wait." "When will you be arriving?" asked Ben. "Sometime in the morning," said Amy. "Do you think you'll be around? I might need some help." "You bet I'll be here," said Ben. "Well, I better get going. See you, Soraya." "Yeah, see you," said Soraya, as she and Amy watched Ben head out of the barn. When he'd gone, Amy turned to her friend. "You were very, casual with Ben," she commented, probing gently. Soraya blushed slightly and brushed Blackjack's sides more slowly. "I didn't think you'd notice," she said awkwardly. "Oh, come on, it was obvious," Amy told her. "You're usually so interested in Ben and Red. Is everything okay?" "Yes, everything's fine. Nothing's happened. Well, nothing with Ben. It's just that I was thinking about something else." Amy studied her friend's face. Soraya's mouth was creased in a tiny smile, and Amy was intrigued. She'd had a crush on Ben for a long time. "Someone else, you mean?" she quizzed. "Soraya, come on, you can tell me." Soraya swallowed. "Yes, I know," she whispered. "Amy, you have to promise you won't tell anyone." "As if I would," exclaimed Amy. She thought rapidly as she moved around Blackjack's side and started brushing his hind legs. Who could make Soraya feel like this and make her be embarrassed about it? Amy knew her friend very well, and she assumed there weren't that many options. "Soraya, it's not Matt, is it?" Matt was one of their friends from school. They'd both known him for years. This semester, Matt and Soraya had the leads in the school's production of Romeo and Juliet. Soraya's eyes opened wide. Amy, how did you guess? She said with a gasp. Amy laughed. I used my best detective skills. It's just we've been spending so much time together, explained Soraya. Ever since play practice started, we've been talking a lot after rehearsals and stuff. She stopped. You don't mind, do you? She asked. Mind? Why would I mind? Amy exclaimed, astonished. Matt had once been interested in going out with Amy, but that was ancient history. It seemed so long ago. It would be great if two of my closest friends went out together. The colour of Soraya's cheeks deepened as she shook her head. Slow down, Amy, she said. I don't think he's interested in me in that way, she added wistfully. Well, I don't see why not. Wistfully? To long for something. When you're longing, oh, I wish I had that.
Like she wished it happened.
Yes. I don't know why not, said Amy. I think you'd make a great pair. It was true. Her two friends were really well suited. Why hadn't she seen it before? She smiled at the idea of it. But then, in spite of herself, a wave of loneliness washed over her. She thought of Ty lying in the hospital. She bent down and leaned against one of Blackjack's legs. She gently lifted his hoof and proceeded to pick it in silence.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
I like your glasses. Feel good.
Normally I have to put them all the time, but I don't put them all the time because
You don't like?
and I will have a big correction now.
So you can see okay, more or less.
So I can see very well the color.
So,
I just use lip